morning, everyone. Please remain standing for the national anthem.
Almighty God, who dost put it into the hearts of men to found this school, we thank Thee for the faith and the vision which brought it into being. Inspire us so to use the opportunities given to us here, that we may be fitted for the service of Thee and of our fellow men. May we grow daily in knowledge and wisdom and in reverence of Thy holy name. Help us to heed the voice of conscience that cries out when we deny Thee. Strengthen us to share the burden of the cross and give to us at last the crown of everlasting joy that waits for all Thy faithful servants. Save us and help us, we humbly beseech Thee, O Lord, and use us to Thy honouring glory through Jesus Christ, our Saviour. Amen.
Thank you.
Please be seated. Rector and guests, boys and girls of Peterhouse. I'm so pleased to welcome you to a fully functioning, normal speech day for the first time in 3 years. We had to scale back to a COVID-compliant version for the last 2 years, where I think it was mainly the parents were missed out and were unable to celebrate us recognising the achievements of their children during those years. Let's hope we can continue to operate with the greater latitude and the freedom that we've had for almost all of this year. Special welcome to Stuart and Penny Mattinson, Jeff and Jan Dick. It's a privilege to have you today. Stuart stepped down as chairman of the board almost 2 years ago now, and Jeff as a governor at the end of 2019, but it was only last night that we were able to gather and honour them for their incredible service to Peterhouse. Jeff was the first head boy of Peterhouse, leaving here in 1962. He was back as chairman of Peterhouse in 1970 and joined the Board of Governors, can you believe it, in 1971. Your parents were born there, probably. So he served us for some 48 years. Stuart left school in 1963, both Paget boys, by the way. As an Ellis boy, I'm surprised to see. Stuart became Peterhouse chairman also in 1974, and he's been on the executive and the governors since being invited while Mr. Bruce Fieldsen was still rector here. So both have provided incredible support and guidance to many rectors who've come and gone, and heads across the road since then, without ever intruding into the management side of the school. Thank you very much for your service. John Trafford is now nearing the end of his 3rd year as rector, but today will mark his first report about a relatively normal full year in the life of Peterhouse. We've been very fortunate to have an experienced hand leading us through this difficult time. John, thank you, and Gwyneth too, for continuing to take our schools forward with such a positive outlook. I'd like to ask you now to come forward and address it. Thank you.
Welcome to this beautiful place and our 2022 speech day. This chapel, our spiritual heart, makes the most perfect venue for our celebration of endeavour and hard work this year. Today also marks a special occasion in that we can pay tribute and acknowledge those who exemplify the true and real nature of service to this school. People make a lot of assumptions about education. Perhaps this is because we all went to school, and so we know what a good education looks like. This also assumes that we went to good schools. When we think of schooling, conventional wisdom tells us that good schools have lessons which have specific structures and time frames. That there is a teacher in the front of the class, the teacher will impart knowledge, and the pupils in the classrooms will sit behind the neatly rows of desks. Pupils come to school to learn, and teachers come to school to teach. We make these assumptions because that's how we were taught. In fact, that was probably how our parents were taught, and generations of school children before them were taught in this way too. However, 2020, and the world is turned upside down, and we have in many instances been forced to reinvent how we approach teaching and learning. Will the methods of the pre-COVID era cut it now? And will the traditional models of teaching and learning survive? Probably not. Are we going to have to reinvent the curriculum? Do we need to rethink our learning spaces and interrogate how online schooling impacted both on pupil perception and parental expectation? I think it would be fair to say that the industrial model of education, the one which parents are most familiar, will change. And as a school, our future will depend on our ability and our adaptability to manage this change. In the words of the British Prime Minister, Benjamin Disraeli, he said this: change is inevitable and change is constant. Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Simon Hammond, our guest of honour, Mr. Sam Sithole, Mr. and Mrs. Mattinson, Mr. and Mrs. Dick, members of the Board of Governors, Headmistress of Peterhouse Girls, Mrs. Huff, invited guests, patrons, parents, staff, pupils, and all our friends of Peterhouse, it is my singular pleasure to welcome you here today. I hope this morning to share with you, appreciating that I am under instruction to be brief, some thought about Peterhouse in 2022 and the years beyond. My opening remarks are calculated and deliberate because change beyond 2022 is inevitable. And as a school, we need to be challenging on ourselves and what we're doing in the teaching and learning spaces. By way of example, in a visit some years ago to an independent school in Los Angeles, I was taken by the development of an area called a Create Studio, which in turn was run by an individual called the Tinkerer. The studio was not subject to any specific subject, and the Tinkerer was not your ordinary teacher, but he was rather a facilitator who makes creative thinking for the pupils a possibility. Interestingly, that particular studio turned out to be the most utilized space in the school, and it was open at all times to the whole school so they could test their innovative and their creative skill. Pupils were encouraged to think more broadly and to think laterally than they would ordinarily be expected to do in a traditional classroom. I had the good fortune of being able to watch a history lesson. In reality, it was much more than that. The lesson, in fact, was on pyramids, which may sound a little bit boring, but it became a lesson of design because you had to construct your own pyramid. It involved pupils in mathematics, in architecture, and in costing. Then the construction required them to convert their design into reality by the utilization of technology in the form of a 3D printer. In short, I left that lesson realizing that more real-world schools were tested in it than in any single formal classroom. So as we explore the world beyond COVID, I pose this question: how does our philosophy and learning and doing become more real and more visible to all of us? Today's innovative schools are designing classrooms for the pursuit of knowledge rather than the conveyance of knowledge. In the creation of a strong and relevant platform for school leavers, Rob Evans, an organizational psychologist from Massachusetts in the United States, speaks for the need for schools wanting to be more contemporary in their academic origin, needing to be adaptable. He goes on to say technology is a fact, and it will drive change. There's no point in pretending that there might be other ways of doing it. So we will need to develop classroom spaces that are adaptable and flexible to this. Increasingly, they will, in every likelihood, look different to the spaces that we traditionally associate with schools. We are moving into a multidisciplinary learning space, which is more akin to the demands and expectations of the post-school and post-COVID world. Evans, in his overview of the future of education, maintains that schools need to go beyond just teaching and learning. They're required to identify a range of other key educational needs. The need for the educational, not to forget that in the hysteria of technology, we have a responsibility of holding on to the importance of human interactions and engagement. We need to support the notion of going beyond the ordinary in education. We need to support our pupils in providing opportunities for them to build their character and to become tougher and more resilient. The post-school environment requires our leaders to be smarter. They need to be able to learn from their mistakes. They need to be able to dust themselves off and get on with the expectations of a life. They need to be independent thinkers, willing to take ownership of their own actions and their decisions. They need to understand the notion of integrity, accountability, and flexibility so that they can manage the ever-changing global context around them. Equally, Evans argues that pupils need to have freedom to learn through experience. However, as teachers and parents, we need to recognize that we should prepare the child for the path and not prepare the path for the child. The school must provide a high opportunity environment. We need to create and develop a range of partnerships that will inform and support this high opportunity environment. For it is inherent in the creation and development of these partnerships that the groundwork for our future success and the success of our leaders will be built. Some years ago, at another conference in the United Kingdom, the term poverty of ambition was thrown about. The phrase was coined to describe the attitude of many school leavers. In explanation, the various speakers that spoke were critical of parents and of schools for failing to adequately prepare pupils for the demands of the world today. The argument being that pathways through adolescence and schooling have been made too easy, and school leavers, who certainly in the United Kingdom have been overly protected and not well equipped to manage the challenges and changes of today. It has been argued, as millennials, we've been too quick to prepare the way for our children rather than allowing them to confront challenge and to manage disappointment. In 2022, I'm not sure that this has been the case here at Peterhouse. I do not believe we've suffered from any sense of poverty without ambition. The school record which you will find in your programs will certainly testify to this. I firmly believe in so many areas of our life we've created a unique place where boys are presented with countless opportunities, and that there is an expectation that they will capture the moment, tackle the challenge, and find reward in successfully completing a task. In reflecting on my first full year of normality, I firmly believe that we continue to provide a world-class educational environment which will, in the fullness of time, deliver young men of substance and character. We've enjoyed many successes this year. We've certainly been faced with challenge, and we've been able to prevail through grit and determination. These characteristics, I believe, epitomize the spirit and the true character of the Peterhouse man. In our endeavours to ensure that we provide the right kind of environment for young men to grow and thrive, we have not rested on our laurels. We've made it our intention not to become complacent, understanding that in the post-COVID world, competitive edge is critical. The Board of Governors and ICCO have recently made some bold decisions to ensure we hold our rightful place at the top of the African independent school chain. Our investment in a number of strategic products will do much to enhance and reinforce our reputation. Given our status as a leading independent school, we have, over the years, become the benchmark for innovation and excellence. With this in mind, and a realization of the cost of providing this quality of education, we continue to review and assess our needs. This has, in 2022, been realized through the construction of 2 new science laboratories at the girls' school, a hockey astroturf at the girls' school, a new aquatic centre emerging here on the boys' school campus, ongoing upgrades in our boarding houses, classrooms, and as well as an extensive redevelopment of some of our infrastructure, most notably the roads. All of this will allow us to continue to provide a world-class education for future generations of Peterhouse boys and girls. With this in mind, however, it would be naive of us to pretend that 2022 has been an easy year. The Zimbabwean, indeed the global economy, continues to limp along with no immediate sign or prospect of change. Here I would like to pay particular tribute to our parent body, who continue to make enormous sacrifices to ensure that their children can enjoy the advantages of being here at Peterhouse. High inflation, currency fluctuations, an aggressive tax system does, for staff, become problematic. Their disposable income is increasingly, as many and all, is increasingly being eroded. We need to, so as to ensure that we remain a cutting-edge educational school, find creative ways of reinforcing staff well-being here at Peterhouse. In building our vision for the future, one recognizes that teachers are incredibly powerful influencers, and they are responsible for educational excellence. While it is about delivery of curriculum, teachers need to be influential, they need to be caring, and they need to be actively engaged in the process of helping to grow and build the abilities and talents of their pupils. Teachers, post-COVID, are moving from the notion of imparting single ideas to one where multiple ideas allow pupils to construct and reconstruct knowledge. Once again, I would like to take this opportunity here to re-emphasize the privilege I have in working with a highly committed, professional and very dedicated staff. Change, of which there has been much in the last 3 years, is never easy, and I'd like to applaud the staff for their willingness to embrace new ideas and promoting changes that are evolving in our academic program. Equally, I've been extremely fortunate to be able to draw on some wise, measured and sane advice from the group management team. Our debates are healthy, they're informative and they are rigorous. To Claire Huff, Paul Martin and to Mark Whittaker, I owe a considerable debt of gratitude for the support they have provided me over the year. Mixed amongst all the seriousness of overseeing the affairs of the state, there is a fair degree of good humour and banter in our conversations. To the heads of school, to Adiel and Ken, thank you. Thank you for the support that you've provided me during the course of this year and your insight into things that are happening in and around the school. Sadly, we bid at the end of this year farewell to a number of staff. 2 classroom legends depart in December. Lieutenant Madiwa, housemistress at Dame Wally Court, and an outstanding travel and tourism teacher, leaves in support of her husband Leonard, who has been appointed the headmaster of Midlands Christian School in Bury. Both Leonard and Pretender have long and very deep roots within this school, and as such, we will miss them greatly from our community. Patty Changa, so much a part of the geography department, leaves for greener pastures in Zambia. Whether it's discussing tropical cyclones, population pyramids, or just the finer details of map reading, Patty has influenced and instructed generations of Peterhouse boys through her interpretation of the geography syllabus. After a relatively short stay at Peterhouse, we also bid Max Mackenzie farewell as he leaves for a post in the United Kingdom. Max brought with him a passion for teaching, particularly in business studies. But more importantly, a unique skill set that he earned considerable respect from boys. He'll be missed managing the snake club and his insightful views on things economic. Seldom acknowledged in the formal sense are our managers that work behind the scenes, work in finance, the kitchens, estates, supplies and maintenance, for they all do an incredible job to ensuring the very smooth running of the school. Today I pay respect to Andy Schultz, who in transport will be leaving to take up a position in Scotland. Andy's professionalism in overseeing transport was no better exemplified this year by his handling of an unfortunate accident involving our B block returning from the Chimano Mines. All those departing, we wish you every success, we'll miss you, and we hope that your new ventures will be successful. Please, at some point in time, return and see us in this dossier. As alluded to already in Harare last night, Peterhouse had the privilege of acknowledging and thanking 2 men who have, through their lives, been inspirational in building the school to the place that it finds itself today. This morning, we salute and pay tribute to Stuart Mattinson and to Jeff Dick. Mr. Mattinson, Petrian, past chairman of the Petrian Society, and as said, recently retired chairman of the board, has served our community with great distinction. He has, over many years of service, ridden the ups and downs associated with the development of this school. We owe him a huge debt of gratitude for all that he has, for more than half a century, contributed to this school. Like Mr. Mattinson, Mr. Dick has been very much part of the school, not only as head boy, but subsequent to his departure. He became an integral part of our governance. He joined the board, as was said, in 1971, served as chairman of the Peterhouse Society, spent time on the executive committee, and saw through his time as a governor considerable changes within the school and the developments which we now associate with those decisions. To both men, we today recognise your incredible commitment to us as a school. Your service epitomizes the true and real values of the Peterhouse man. We thank you. So as 2022 has unfolded, we came to recognize just how much we lost over the 2 years of the COVID pandemic. While online teaching certainly served its purpose, and it certainly did that in the academic spaces, and that is certainly reflected in our 2021 results. But we lost some of those priceless moments where young men, through outdoor experiences, things that happen on the sports field, their spiritual engagement in this chapel, the cultural activities in which they learn so much more than things that are simply academic, and so much more which engages with their strengths, weaknesses, and abilities. We have, in many ways this year, tried to play catch-up. Our term week calendars have been full, and it has meant long hours travelling on buses, early mornings with practices in the pool, gym, or on the sports field, choirs and musicians practicing into the night, and performing with distinction. The school production of Oliver with a Zim twist earned many an accolade. Our debaters swept well before them at the ATS debating competition. Outreach programs are up and running again, and they are connecting us with our community. All these elements and more, so important in developing character and substance. In the same measure, we've also had time to reflect on what we do. John F. Kennedy said this: change is the law of life, and those who only look to the past or the present are certainly going to miss the future. So as we look forward to 2023, we must prepare ourselves for that future. A future that will embrace our traditions, but also recognizes the need to provide an educational environment that is contemporary. So as I start to bring my thoughts to a close, John Hunt, author and futurist, implores us simply not to accept conventional wisdom, but always to be prepared for change and to adapt as we embrace the needs of the post-COVID world. He speaks not of the circle of life, but the circus of life. We need to be doing in our schools, creating an environment that incorporates this ever-changing world. But as we do, we must avoid the risk of confusing knowledge with insight. We must be beware of becoming data junkies, because the latest gizmo is not an idea. Ideas come from human endeavour, and humans drill holes into knowledge, which brings me back to my central points today. While we acknowledge and fully embrace all that is taking place in the technological world and the things that are happening in terms of educational advancement, our role as educators must be focused still on the individual and our passion. Because sameness does not encourage creativity, leadership, or the development of new ideas. We need teachers who will think out of the box, because the greatest students will only emerge if we encourage lateral thinking. The greatest inventions of our time did not come out of a homogeneous group of thinkers. We need to ask, where will the next Steve Jobs come from? I would like to think from a school like ours, which accommodates and inspires the creative mind. So in shaping and moulding the current and future generations of young veterans, we must strive to achieve 5 outcomes. These being, to prepare young men and women with a sound set of values, who are honest, understand integrity. We want pupils to be caring, we want them to be compassionate, and we want them to have concern for others. We want our pupils to be courageous, to have self-esteem and an inner confidence without ever being arrogant. We want to promote that individualism by young men and women, so that they can show initiative, ingenuity, and they can think independently. We want our learners to be able to form relationships, work in teams, exhibit tolerance, and understand the notion of diversity. We want our pupils to have a social conscience, so that they understand the reality of living in the communities that they live By strengthening our pastoral support of the individual, we complete an important part of our educational responsibility. So my last words are these, and they are from the 1996 Peterhouse head boy Ben Parra, when he said at the centenary celebration of the school the following, and please note that I have adapted it to our relevance here at Peterhouse. If a pupil can make victim of another who proves to be introvert and less confident than they know nothing of the spirit of Peterhouse. If a pupil can partake or even look upon bullying without regret and counteractions, then he knows nothing of the spirit of Peterhouse. If a pupil walks so tall he cannot stoop to help another who has fallen, then he knows nothing of the spirit of Peterhouse. So as I close and we look forward to the future, we recognize in our school an amazing history of endeavor and resilience, and that too has been exhibited this year. A school whose traditions now provide it with the colour and character to ensure that it can count itself amongst the great schools in Africa, indeed the world. But equally, we must recognize that our role is to educate young men who will have the ability and skills to meet the expectations of the future. These men need to be compassionate. They need to be courageous. They must be confident, never arrogant. And they must be men of toughness and character. So as I close, and thank you for being here this morning and bearing with me, I leave you with the words of Mother Teresa. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across waters to create many rivers. Thank you. Before I take my seat, I have one more task this morning, which gives me great pleasure to do. I have the opportunity of awarding 2 honours ties today. In the words of the criteria, both have contributed in a significant and meaningful way in the day-to-day operations and life of the school. They have served this community with great distinction. They have exhibited character of the highest measure, and they have, throughout their tenure at Peterhouse, added greatly to this school's reputation. Arriving to join the Peterhouse staff in 1988 from Matabeleland, that somewhat arid region to the south of the country, he quickly established himself as an incredibly multi-talented and versatile schoolmaster. Arriving to teach geography, he also brought with him a host of other skills and talents, all of which were to make a significant impact on many in this school. Educated in the United Kingdom at Halsey School, Lancaster Polytechnic and the University of Bath, he found himself in the early 1980s teaching at Ellis Robbins in Harare. Subsequent to which he was persuaded by the then Headmaster of Plumtree, Mr. Mike Wiley, to move there for a number of years. Following time, in 1987, at a Peterhouse music camp and in a conversation with Mr. Guy Carey, then English teacher here at the boys' school, he submitted his CV and an application to the rector. Interestingly, in the note attached to the letter of application, the then rector, Dr. Alan McGay, wrote the following. I like the look of this application. And then he had some bullet points. He's a biologist and a general scientist. He's a bachelor, easy to accommodate. He plays the clarinet. He'll be able to teach it here. He has computer experience, whatever that meant in 1987. And the last one in the classic, I think he's likely to stay. I think he's likely to stay is clearly an understatement, for he has, over 101 terms, been part of almost every aspect of the school's life. Starting as a teacher, an assistant housemaster in Paget, he went on to be head of geography in 1991, during which time he restructured much of the junior geography syllabus. In 1996, he took on the reins of housemaster at Sithole. There he did an incredible job, showing great empathy and skill, until 2003, he found himself as Deputy Director of Studies. Not content with that, he moved on to become Director of Culture for a number of years, before returning to the academic space as Senior Master Academic and Director of Studies. Notwithstanding all these commitments, he has coached a range of sports, taught music, overseen many school tours and trips, and he has served on the Peterhouse Committee. Aside his formal commitments to the school, he is an accomplished musician, which is already said, has served the local community as a round tabler and a Rotarian. His sense of community, in fact, is no better exemplified than in the tradition which he set up of the Peterhouse staff travelling supper, which takes place on an annual basis. An accomplished photographer, he can be found visiting many places around the country in pursuit of that award-winning photograph. There can be few who would not, over the last 30 or plus years, recognize him for his incredible contribution to the life of the school. His thorough, professional and extraordinary commitment to Peterhouse makes him one of those real and true schoolmasters. His endeavours in ensuring that Peterhouse maintains its rightful place as a leading independent school runs deep in the fabric of the school. This is just but a small snapshot of a man who has donated his life to the betterment of generations of boys here. Therefore, it gives me great pleasure in awarding Peterhouse's highest accolade, an honours time, to Mr. Andrew Briggs. Educated at Springvale and Bernard Mazeki College, this awardee has, through his service to the school, impacted enormously on generations of boys and staff. He has served under all but 2 of Peterhouse's 7 rectors. His journey with the school has been unparalleled, and his institutional knowledge of this place is deep-rooted. Prior to him starting at Peterhouse Boys, he worked at Springvale and then St. Philip's during the time in which Springvale House was closed in the 1970s. It was in Dr. Alan McGay's first year as rector that he was appointed and joined the school. Way back in 1984, when he started his Peterhouse journey, this school was nothing like what we know today. Snell had just been opened, and the library, now the gym, was but a mere shadow of what is now the Legate Centre. That centre, its capacities and its resources, way overshadowed what existed in the library. He arrived to a boys' school that didn't have a girls' school at that stage. There was no curriculum, and there were very few of the many facilities that we enjoy today as a group of schools. But he has lived in his time at Peterhouse through an incredible era of its history, with its many trials and tribulations, but one in which he has seen the school grow from strength to strength. But more importantly, he has embraced, in his warm and very generous way, the people of the school, the pupils, the staff, and indeed the parents. Walking into the Legate Centre soon after my appointment in 2019, he greeted me by name and was quick to remind me of my first Peterhouse journey as a young and newly qualified teacher some 28 years earlier. It must have been quite horrific. Equally, he does exactly the same to returning reunion groups and stuns them by remembering the detail of the years in which they were here at the school. In my conversations with staff, they will talk of his intimate knowledge of the school, of the Legate Centre, and all that is associated with the literary life of the school. In a recent conversation with a senior member of the admin staff, she said to me that he was something of a role model because he was passionate about everything that he does. For him, every day is a new day to learn something new. Notwithstanding the number of rectors he worked alongside, he worked with a good number of librarians as well, notably Mrs. Bond, Mr. Davidson, Mrs. Nell, Mrs. Halley, and more recently, Mrs. Gumma and Mrs. Ducott. So over 37 years, he has become something of an icon, and he has become a legend in the school. And as such, it gives me considerable pleasure today to be able to award Adiel Michena an honours one.
Thank you, Rector. Very inspiring, both the speech and those awards. Just exemplary service. Thank you. It's now my privilege to introduce our guest of honour today, Mr. Sam Sithole. The Rector referred to our slightly up and down economy here, and that things haven't always gone great here, but that hasn't stopped the resilience of Zimbabweans going out there and succeeding at every level. I think if you just look to the south of us, you'll see the head of some of the biggest companies there. I'm thinking of Vodacom, MTN, Sanlam, Old Mutual, all staffed by Zimbabweans down there. And we're here to welcome another star in that firmament today. Sam's a 49-year-old seasoned investment professional. He's an entrepreneur with global experience in private equity, investment management, and listed equity industries. He's based in Johannesburg. He's currently the CEO and co-founder of Value Capital Partners, South Africa's pioneer activist investment firm, which he started in 2016.
Sorry. Manages approximately 11 billion rand of assets. Sam joined Deloitte in Harare, where I first got to hear of him. He passed the Chartered Accountants of Zimbabwe final qualifying exam as the top student in both parts in 1998, with honours in both parts. He became the first black student to achieve this, and the second overall student to do so, and I'm not sure there's been many ever since then either. He completed a 2-year global secondment with Deloitte in the UK. He was admitted then to the Deloitte partnership in Zimbabwe as an audit partner, before moving on to the Deloitte partnership in South Africa in 2004, and he left in 2008 as the head of the financial services audit practice there. He was then appointed as Group Chief Financial Officer for Brait, a South African-based private equity group with a secondary listing on the London Stock Exchange and several others. In July 2011, he was part of the investment team that transformed the business from a private equity fund manager into an investment holding company, growing its market capitalization from 6 to 85 billion rand over a 5-year period. Highlights included a 4 billion rand investment into Pepkor, which was sold in 2015 for 30 billion rand. In October 2016, he co-founded his current company, DCP, as the first CEO, and again grew the business from 400 million rand of their own capital into a current 11 billion rand of assets under management. They invested into Altron, driving the share price from 5 rand to 55 rand in a short space of time. Other achievements he puts back, he has been chairman of finance and vice chairman of the council for St. John's College, Johannesburg, a leading school down there. He's currently chairman of the board of Sun International Limited, the top gaming and casino and hospitality group in South Africa. He's a non-exec board member for Adcorp, Metair and Altron, all listed companies in Johannesburg. And he's a non-executive board member of the Centre for Development and Enterprise. I'm having to abridge this, there's so much in here. The part I like the best though, Sam is married to his university sweetheart Gester, and they have been blessed with 5 wonderful boys. Gester and Sam are committed Christians, and they enjoy serving in the men's, ladies and couples ministry in their church and the wider community. It's a great honour to have you today. Thank you, Sam. I'll ask Sam now to present the prizes before he addresses us later.
We'll start off with subject prizes, and first of all in D block, the subject prizes for maths and science, practical and vocational, and also the industry prize goes to Kulapashi Chifamba. The D Block Humanities and Languages Prize goes to Gideon Karonga, and the D Block Improvement Prize goes to Tendeso Nyabareka. C Block, the Maths and Science Prize goes to Keystone Tlongwani. The Humanities and Languages and the Industry Prizes go to Jonathan Chinyama. The C Block Practical and Vocational Prize goes to Joel Mandingaisa, and the C Block Improvement Prize to Tatenda Gambiza. Moving on to B Block, the Maths and Science and Practical and Vocational Prizes go to Takudzwa Dafana. The B Block Language and Humanities Prize goes to Makundi Muyambo, the Industry Prize to David Weller, and the Improvement Prize to Felix Machado. Now to A Block. The Maths and Science Prize and the Humanities and Language Prize go to Will Kanatsa. Practical and Vocational Prize to Dylan Makaranjo, the Industry Prize to Munashi Gara, and the Improvement Prize to Dylan Harvey. individual upper school subject prizes. Fifth form accounting, Nash.Alpha. Fifth form art, Timia Schultz. The fifth form biology and mathematics prizes go to Munengyasha Titzva. Fifth form business prize to Tadiwa Mandavutsira. Fifth form chemistry and fifth form physics prizes go to Tawana Rugari Nemachena. Fifth form computer science goes to Makanayashi Zorumi. Design and technology to Rodado Natondo. The fifth form divinity and French language prizes go to Robert Fadzo Moombe. Fifth form English language, Liam Kirkman. Fifth form English literature, Murashushi Mushosho. Fifth form geography prize to Brennan Watt. Fifth form global perspectives to Deborah Nikozhu. The fifth form history prize is awarded to Tamuka Varabashi. The fifth form Learner Hunter Guide prize to David Bailey. Fifth form music prize to Kimberly Maorisi. The fifth form physical education prize to Tabitha Tunny. And the final fifth form prize for travel and tourism to Imani Kujeti. Now to the sixth form. The sixth form accounting prize to Terry Smitty. The art and English literature prizes go to Nicole Howard. The sixth form biology, sixth form chemistry, and sixth form maths prizes to Tawan and Yaka. I was told by one of her friends that I was just about to start an exam that she would like to buy a paper from me. Sixth form business to Joshua Chinyana. Sixth form computer science and physics to Lovedale and Garavaza. Sixth form design technology, Brendan Fraser Bell. Sixth form English language to Deborah Davey. The sixth form geography and history prizes go to Simbarashi Dube. The sixth form physical education prize to Isla Sky Cliff. And then the final subject prize for sixth form travel and tourism, Kiara Mitchell. We now move on to the special prizes. Beginner's music goes to Sean Muzimurema. The Sugden Music Prize goes to Tawaninyasha Mashababi. The Mapanda Science Prize, which goes to the best A-block science pupil, and the Watershed Travel Trophy for the most promising A-block geographer, both go to Munashi Gara. The Beaumont Project Prize goes to Kieran Brown. The next couple of prizes are for high levels of academic achievement, and in most cases it's possible and indeed desirable just to give to the very best. So the Sethford Memorial Prize goes for the best IGCSE results, and normally that's quite straightforward, but we had two candidates with 8 A stars and 1 A, so I thought, well, I'll now go to the percentages on the marks. And blow me down, they both got 821. So because there was no way of dividing them, the Sethford Memorial Prizes go to both Joseph Hildebrand and Tanaka Mutangwa. The Best AS Result Prize to Lovedale and Garavaza. The CBZ Senior Choir Trophy and the Duncan Memorial Prize, which is for contribution to a wide range of cultural activities in the school, go to Simbarashi Dube. Trophy goes to Michael Folds. The Hatton Conservation Trophy to Ryan Fareed. The Tim Laver Memorial Trophy, which is an award for displaying courage under adverse circumstances, is awarded to Tadiwa Mbezi. The Robertson Cup for citizenship and general contribution to the school is awarded to Nigel Mushawaranu. The Vigo Trophy, which is an award to the fifth former who has contributed greatest to cultural contribution to the school, and the Patterson Memorial Prize for service rendered to the chapel go to Liam Kirkman. And the final special prize, the Petrian Society Prize, to Adiel Mugoro. There are two remaining trophies to present. The first is the Gallagher Trophy. This is awarded based on industry points for 3 terms, from Michaelmas last year to Lent and Trinity this year. The winning house for the Gallagher Trophy is Snell. Finally, the Interhouse Trophy is for a combination of sporting activities, of cultural activities, and academic achievement in public examinations. And this year, the Interhouse Trophy is awarded to Paget.
Can I ask you now to address us? Very.
A very good morning to you all, especially the sixth form, our class of 2022 on this special day. And also the prize winners for today, good morning to you. My name is Sam Sithole, and I must say it is such a surreal and humbling experience for me to be the guest of honor for such an amazing school like Peterhouse Boys School. And I think you will know a little bit more why I say that when I tell you a little bit of my history. Some of the highlights, I had the good occasion of actually coming here at about 8:30, and I went down to your library, looked at your facilities, and for someone who comes from having sent about 5 boys through St. John's College in Johannesburg, I must say this is a stunning school. Some of the things that I really fell in love with your school is just the history and the traditions of your school. You know, I read about your humble roots in 1959 under Rector Fred Snell with only 55 boys to become a school with over 1,000 students today. I also noted that the first black students were admitted into the school in the 1950s. I also looked at your patrons, some stunning names there, including world-class sportsmen such as Stuart Carlisle, Tendai Mutawarira, and also some world leaders such as the former Vice President and acting President of Zambia, as well as the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England. What was also quite impressive for me is your strong focus on nature and conservation through the Gosho Park. Your school was clearly many years ahead of the green movement. And lastly, you know, when I looked at on your motto, I asked Veronica how to pronounce this, and I think hopefully I can get it right. I think she said it's Condito in Petra, which means founded on the rock. And the rock is the rock of faith, and as Fred Snow declared, building on faith must be something continued always in the present and not on a tombstone from the past. What a heritage indeed. So I'd like to congratulate the Rector, Mr. John Trafford, the governing board, the dedicated and hardworking teachers and staff members who continue to make Peterhouse such an exceptional school. I would also like to congratulate the parents of the boys who are graduating or receiving prizes today. Today it is a big milestone in your role as parents, and I know the blood, sweat and tears that have been shed, and being a parent of 5 boys, I can testify to that. So well done, this is your day too. And my sincere thanks to my 11-year-old son, Jordan, who accompanied me today and thereby missing his weekend of sports in Johannesburg. Thank you, son, for being here. To the class of 2022, to the class of 2023, you deserve to be proud of yourselves for all the hard work that has got you to this stage. I've no doubt there were many long nights studying, days when you thought you might drop out of that, or might give up on the sports field or on the debating class, but you persevered and here you are at the finishing line. It talks to your character, it talks to the rich potential to do great things that's within you. I would like to share with you a few words that hopefully will encourage you and affirm your amazing potential, because you are the leaders of tomorrow. Let me start with a brief personal story. Not to impress you, but to show you that if someone like me can be where I am today, you start at a much better place than I did. My beloved late mom separated from her parents when they got divorced and she was barely 5. She spent a childhood in Gope rural areas with relatives and only met her mom again after she was married. My dad ran away from home when he was barely 14, 15 years old and started working on farms. I think they used to call them Dhaka boys, but eventually trained himself to become a bricklayer. It was on one of those farms called Freck Farm in Karoi. I don't know whether it's still there in Karoi, that he met my mom. We had come there with her uncle. So the lovebirds got married and started moving around from farm to farm doing odd jobs. Given the poor state of schools on most farms, my maternal grandmother invited them to move in with her in her home in St. Mary's Township in Shumiza, a 4-roomed house that she owned. I was born during that period at St. Mary's Clinic in Shumiza in February of 1973 to 2 parents who had barely completed standard 1 or 2 and were doing odd jobs to get by. And part of what she also did was to brew a strong brew called cachasso. I don't know how many people know it. Eventually they got allocated their own 2-roomed house in Unit D in Shumiza by the new Mugabe government. Unit D was a rough neighborhood with rampant crime, prostitution, drunkards, That's the place where I grew up and until I started working. I attended school at Second One High School, a local high school with over 1,500 students. Each grade had 12 to 18 classes, and each class had 40 to 50 students. You can just think of the teacher who had to mark all this whenever there was even a single test. Only way one could accommodate these classes was to have half the grades coming at 7 a.m. to 12 noon, and the other half from 12 noon to 5 p.m., the so-called odd sitting. Our only sporting activities at Second One High were athletics, volleyball, soccer, and netball. And I must confess I was hopeless at all four, hence my sole focus on academics. As you heard earlier, I'm now the CEO and co-founder of a business that manages about 11 billion rand of assets under management with significant oversight over executive management and boards of listed companies on the JSE. It is really an incredible journey and a testimony of the amazing grace of God. What have been some of the lessons during this improbable journey that I would like to share with the class of 2022? I'll just touch on about 8 lessons. Number 1, fearless and loving parents, especially my late mom. Although she did not go to school, my mom understood the value of education and would literally beat me up when I joined the local petty gangs or didn't want to go to school. She would travel the breadth of South Africa to sell what they call doilies and exchange them for second-hand clothes to sell back in Zimbabwe. We grew up wearing those second-hand clothes. My advice to the class of 2022 is to never take for granted the love and sacrifice that your parents went through to get you to this stage. I encourage you to resolve to make your parents proud of what you will become going forward. Number 2, work ethic. This is quite different to having to study at school or being asked to have a study period. This is developing an inner resolve internally, where on your own you wake up at 3 or 4 a.m., do work or read for an important meeting, and only finish 16 or 20 hours later. Ability to do so day in, day out, week in, week out, is what is going to separate you from your peers. Certainly a lot of students, especially from boarding schools, fail this test at varsity, where suddenly no one cares whether you come for lectures or do your work. I urge the class of 2022 not to fall into this trap. Number 3, always seek advice and have 2 to 3 mentors in your life. Ideally, this should be 5 to 10 years older than you, and they should be more successful than you are. I remember a conversation in 2007, which I had with one of my mentors, and after that conversation, I resigned from Deloitte, South Africa without a job to my wife's Atahora. After an advisor had made me realize my potential, this is what I was doing at that particular time. It was a game changer in my life. As the Bible says, in the midst of cancerous plans are established. Number 4, friends. The type of company that you keep determines where you will be in 15 or 20 years when you come back here for your reunion. I remember when I got married and it just started out at Deloitte, my wife told me that she was unhappy with some of my friends and wanted them gone. My first reaction was to be defensive, but the more I reflected on what I did with these friends, or what we talked about, I realized it did not align with my new role and my values as a married man and a father. To the class of 2022, have the courage to realize when certain relationships might have outlived their useful life. The right friends will have a powerful impact in all areas of your life, while the wrong friends will sabotage even your best plans. Number 5, be a lifelong student. Common mistake is to want a job where you earn the most money. Money is important, of course, but even more important is a job where you are growing and learning all the time. When I stopped learning as a partner at Deloitte, I went into a completely new field in private equity, where the learning was steep, but fulfilling. So I could have stayed as a partner, but I chose to go and learn something from scratch. When I was again feeling a bit stale, I paid for my own fare to go to Omaha, USA for Warren Buffett's annual general meeting in 2012 and started learning about value investing. All those lessons made it possible to start, in 2016, the business that I run today, VCP. My challenge to you, the class of 2022, is to have a goal to read at least 1 or 2 books each month. Besides gaining knowledge and new ideas, it will keep you humble and make you realize that there is so much more for you to learn. Number 6, choosing the right wife. My boys have heard me say this so many times that they are now sick of me saying it. But from my perspective, there are 2 critical decisions in life. And no, it's not a career or a job decision. For me, it was giving my life to Christ, and the second was the woman that I married. Find the right one and she will help you soar like an eagle, and vice versa. Spend time understanding your values, their relationship with parents, siblings, friends, whether she's a glass half full or a half empty type of person. Get this right, class of 2022, and I assure you, you have won life's lottery. Number 7, integrity and character. As you go into the world and start working, you will soon experience an amazing thing that happens in corporate life. A business will have hundreds or thousands of employees, but if a CEO departs that business, lo and behold, it goes outside to look for a new CEO. And I believe a big reason is character and integrity. It's the day-to-day actions and decisions you make. This is a whole topic on its own, but I urge you to read a book called How to Be a CEO. Character is literally worth its weight in gold in the long run. I don't know why I used the old Misha example, maybe it was because of Simon, but the example that I had here was, it's the difference between you being invited and paid for to chair old Misha Zimbabwe or not. I think the Bible says it differently. It says, charm is deceitful, but a faithful man who can fight. And the last one was time. What you will become is in a big way determined by how you allocate the most important resources that you have, which is time. That's why other people are able to write 2 or 3 books in a year, and others can't write a single book. I haven't written a book, by the way. Determine your priorities: family, relationship, church, career, community, and check that your use of time matches that. Sometimes we want certain outcomes, but we can't stop playing computer games, watching series, or going out. Those things are not bad, but balance and restraint is key to life. You will never get this balance 100% right or arrive, but try to keep reviewing and adjusting at least every 6 months. In closing, I would like to wish you well as a class of 2022. I urge you to reflect on the amazing lessons you have been blessed with during your stay here at Peterhouse and to count your blessings. Don't fall into the trap of being bitter over 1 or 2 things that you didn't like about the school, or 1 or 2 people you didn't get along with. There is no perfect organization. I have no doubt that we will hear and read of the great exploits you are going to accomplish in the future. I thank you all.
Sam, thank you very much indeed for arming our class for the future. Now it's my pleasure to welcome one of that class to speak to us, our head boy, Adiel Mugoro.
Chairman of the Board, Rector, members of the Board, staff members, parents, and gang of Peterhouse. Blood, sweat, and tears. An accurate and blunt way of putting our year 2022 in a nutshell. A return to the normal way of schoolboy life. Away from Google Classroom and virtual learning. A year for the scholar, sportsman, and cultural enthusiast. This year has been one of celebration, some disappointment, and joy, with determination and a passion for success being the driving factor that ensured that the Peterhouse team were always on top of the game. Our first 11 cricket side, for example, this year, have enjoyed an unbeaten season, undefeated by teams inside and outside the country, with 2 T20 trophies to their name, and a reputation of winning that will last for years. They have shown the true value of the Peterhouse man, determined, passionate, humble in victory, and most of all, a never die attitude. The Peterhouse man is not only extended to the sports fields however. He can be seen in the debate halls, going up against international students and top debaters, the best of the best, are still coming out on top. With the likes of the York player, who has been on the road this year, winning multiple competitions and gaining presidential funding to help him on his journey of being one of the best debaters we have ever seen. Or maybe it's in the classrooms, with the likes of Simbarasha Bibi, Keith Elliott, or Lapin Darwaza, who have consistently attained high grades and earned multiple commendations and 4 A's during the AS examinations. The Peterhouse man is not a man of only one skill, but he is multicultural and sporty, courageous and confident, zealous and disciplined. He is a man who stands for those who cannot fight for themselves. He is on one team, and that is the ever-growing Peterhouse community, a place we are privileged to call home. As the year started and the first term rolled around, came the athletics, tennis, basketball, cricket, water polo, swimming, and volleyball seasons, just to name a few. We had many uphill battles, but we showed the world once again what it means to be a king. As we came, we saw, and we conquered. But this did not come easily. Sportsmen could be seen throughout the school practicing and honing their craft to ensure that they were on top of the game. Whether it be early morning or late night practices, no time was wasted. The credit cannot all go to the players, however, as the coaching staff this year has been outstanding. With the likes of Mr. Takayeta, Mr. Kirkman, and Mr. Durham, just to name a few, effort has not gone unnoticed, and any victories that boys have enjoyed this year are not only due to their talents and work ethic, but also the dedication of the training staff. Now, with board and a community like ours, comes support from parents, children, and staff. Watching basketball on a hot summer's day and singing your lungs out with your brothers, or casually watching an under-14 cricket game are experiences like no other. With the end of first term and the introduction of the school year, comes the start of second term, the most intense part of any Peterhouse year. With the likes of rugby, hockey, and soccer, oh wait, forgive me Mr. Wenger, football, as it is commonly referred to in the school. The thrill of watching the Kings go up against St. John's, St. George's, and Falcon is a feeling like no other, whether it's on 11, the football field, or the hockey field. We put on a spectacle, and I'm sure it was awesome to watch once again. These accolades do not all fall under our expansive sporting activities though, as during the second term, a variety of cultural events were carried out. The first being the Kids Can Run, which involves Peterhouse pupils raising money for the Kids Can organization to help in the fight against cancer. Diabetes awareness was also spread throughout the school, from the soccer team carried out by the Leo Club. Acts of service are no new feat in our space, with regular trips to Mushawiwana and Ilawe Kwako by both Interact and Kukura Nishungu. It was clear that these small trips had been missed by both the boys and their respective communities the last 2 years. Second term also holds our mock examinations, and although it was a difficult time for many, the determination of the A blockers to the sixth formers really shone through, as outstanding results were produced once again. Hopefully this will be some foresight into the results that are to come in 2023, with the sixth form hoping to do justice to the legacy left behind by the previous sixth form with a 100% pass rate. The work of our expansive and skilled staff was put to the test once again, and the ability to produce results to the highest level was surely recognized. Now here we are in third term, the final term for all of us in sixth form. With Cambridge examinations coming in at full force, this is the last time many of us will see each other. The boys from 2017 have gone through a lot together in the last 6 years, and it has made us better men for it. We have had many highs, and these moments never be cherished for a lifetime. It feels like just yesterday we walked through those pyramids, boys from different backgrounds, with different friends and upbringing, walking into Chinakura for the first time, intimidated, but hopeful nevertheless by the likes of Nyorara and Sachiti, as they helped us unpack our belongings. I have memories of us packing all of our books in our satchels, as we ran from class to class, our small legs too weak to carry us under all that weight, as we tried to navigate our way around this maze. I remember specifically how hated the Shonit history walk was, and if you're unlucky, you'd have art up straight after that. The thoughts of our first base camp, and lining up in ever-growing tuck-shop lines, the arguments at camps as we fought over tin meat and powdered milk, but at least none of them ever got physical. Well, besides that one time in B-Block. Pressing the point. Memories of game on the sports field as people try to ride the way to victory, as we play touch, or late night chats with our friends, as our housemaster repeatedly told us to keep the noise levels down. We've been through a lot together, and it's through all these trials that we have come out together as brothers. To the leavers of 2022, I wish you all well as you leave the pyramids for the last time. And to the prefects, and a special mention to our deputy head of school, Kian Arnold, a vote of thanks for all the work you have done this year, as none of these achievements would have been possible without you in you. A final message, my fellow kings. Remember that your blood will forever run with you, and no matter what happens in our lifetime, nothing will ever take that away from us. With that being said, that's a wrap to the academic year of 2022, and one that I will remember for the ages. Kurukwa.
Adiel, thank you and congratulations. Great job. I'm so pleased you and your fellow kings have once again benefited from all that Peterhouse is able to offer you. Clearly you've grasped that opportunity and run with it. All the very best to you and your class for the future. I offer no apologies if I echo the rector in thanking our wonderful staff, led by John and Gwyneth Trafford, Claire and Nigel Huff, Paul and Kim Martin, and Martin Moira Whitaker. We're so fortunate to see such commitment to the education and overall development of your children. We celebrated Andy Briggs' 100th term at Peterhouse, as you heard earlier this year. He may be a bit of an outlier, but he exemplifies the dedication that the Peterhouse staff bring every day. The school has continued to thrive, attracting a great intake for 2023. We believe we have much to offer your children, but we don't take the loyalty of our parents for granted. I'd like to thank the parents for your continued support for our schools and for your children. This plays a vital role in ensuring that we have the best possible environment for them to develop. My thanks as ever to my fellow governors and to the more active members who serve on the Executive, Finance and Building and Estates Committees. Thank you in particular, Peter Hildebrand, Nick Grant and Graham Webb for chairing. It's exciting to see these new developments coming on top of keeping the existing ship afloat. Just to quote, "The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority, they show disrespect for their elders, and they love chatter in the place of exercise. Children are now tyrants, not the servants of their households. They no longer rise when elders enter the room. They contradict their parents, chatter before company, gobble up dainties at the table, cross their legs, and tyrannize their teachers." So those words may be old-fashioned, but they might be said by any generation of parents, or even by the seniors in our school of this quote. They were in fact written by Socrates over 400 years ago. 400 years before Christ. And they were as wrong then as they are now. He may have been a very smart guy in other respects, but he got this one wrong. It's a natural instinct to think that things were better in our time, that we were better disciplined, better trained, and had it tougher than those who came after us. Things may not stay the same, but that's not a bad thing. I am proud of the fact that the Peterhouse of today isn't the Peterhouse of my day in the 1970s, or the Peterhouse of the 1960s for the honoured gentleman down at the front here. It's the same Peterhouse with the same underlying values and ethos of yesterday, but it is also a better Peterhouse, with our current team of teachers taking it further along the road each year. We are very fortunate to be part of it. I'm in the happy position of being one of the early birds to wish you all the best for Christmas and the hope and confidence that 2023 will bring new and more exciting opportunities for all of us. Thank you. Now, could I ask the choir to sing Nireji by Jar Fraser? Thank you. Many thanks to Chinoshi and his choir. And we can see why they consistently win the big cups at the Trafford each year. Could I ask you all now to stand, please, for the school hymn and the closing prayer.
Thank
Father, would you guard her children, guide her leaders, and would you give her peace? We pray this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.